Well, good afternoon, boys and girls. I'm really glad to be in your school this afternoon. I've got a fantastic story for you this afternoon as well. But there are lots of different types of stories, aren't there? You might like adventure stories, or you might like love stories, or some of you might even like scary stories as well. But there are even different styles of scary story. You might have a kind of scary story where when you listen to it, you feel a bit scared or afraid because of the story. Or it might be that it's just a story about a group of people who were feeling scared and afraid because of something that was happening to them. And that's what my story is going to be about this afternoon. It's about a group of people who were feeling scared and afraid because of something that was happening to them. But before I tell you my story, I wonder, can anybody quietly put their hand up and tell me something that makes them feel scared or afraid? Anyone got something that makes them feel scared or afraid? We'll go for one down here. What's it? Spiders. Yeah, lots of people don't like spiders. That's a really good one. Okay, let me see. So everyone nice and quiet. I'm going to go right to the back. You're going to be nice and loud. Can we hear you? Some types of movies can make you feel scared or afraid. Yeah, excellent. Okay, we'll go for one more over by here. What do you think down by here? Lightning can make you feel scared or afraid. So you don't know what's going to happen. Okay, pop your hands back down. Because there are lots of different things that make us feel scared or afraid, because all of us are a little bit different. But you know, whatever makes us feel scared or afraid, it's always better if there's somebody else there with us. If we're on our own, we feel much worse, much more scared and afraid than if we've got somebody there with us. And there's lots of people around that want to help us when we feel scared or afraid. People like our mums and dads, our friends, our teachers, and there are even some people who part of their job is to help us when we feel scared or afraid. People like the police. But even better than just having anybody to help us when we feel scared or afraid is having somebody who's able to deal with the thing that is causing us to feel scared or afraid. So perhaps if you're scared of spiders, then what you want is your mum or your dad, whoever's really good at getting rid of spiders, to come in and get rid of the spider from your room. But if you're feeling scared or afraid because perhaps there's a fire, then the person you want is actually a fireman to come in to rescue you and to put the fire out. Now, the people in our story today actually had the perfect person to help them with the problem they had. But they didn't realise it at the beginning of our story. But we'll find out about that in a minute. Now, our story today is actually from a book. Now, I know this isn't a book. I know this is just a set of 4 sticks. But I want you to use your imagination with these sticks this afternoon. So when I open it up like this, it looks a bit like opening a book, doesn't it? And it's from a really special book. Because the book that this story is actually from is a book called the Bible. And the Bible is really special because Christians believe that when we open up the Bible and read what it says inside, that actually it contains everything that God up in heaven wants us to know. That everything God wants us to know has been put down in the Bible for us to read. But as well as it containing everything that He wants us to know, actually it contains lots and lots of stories as well. It especially contains lots of stories about a man whose name begins with a letter J. Just like that. But I wonder if anybody can quietly put their hand up and tell me who you think that might be. There's lots of stories in the Bible about him, and we think about Christmas and Easter, that kind of thing. Let me see. What do you think of it? Pardon, sorry? Jesus, fantastic. There are lots of stories about Jesus in the Bible. And actually, there's so many stories about Jesus in the Bible because Christians believe that Jesus is a really important guy. But I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go through our story. Now, our story today actually starts on a hillside. And on this hillside, there were thousands upon thousands of people all come to hear someone teach. Can you imagine that? Thousands of people coming to hear one of your teachers teach. They probably wouldn't all fit in your classroom, would they? Which is probably why they had to be out on a hillside. But they were all there that day because it was a really special teacher that day. Because the teacher that day was actually Jesus. He was out there teaching them all on the hillside. But as well as him and the thousands of people on that hillside, there's another important group of people for our story today. A group of people called the disciples. It's a bit of a strange name, but basically they were Jesus' closest friends. And they followed Jesus wherever he went, because they thought that he was the most amazing and incredible teacher ever. Because Jesus would teach them all about God up in heaven. But he would do it in a way that made it easy to understand and made learning fun and exciting. I'm sure you've got lots of teachers like Jesus as well, haven't you? Teachers who make things easy to understand, who make learning fun and exciting, and make you eager to come to school each day to find out what you're going to learn that day. Well, Jesus actually taught for a long time that day up on the hillside. He taught until it was almost dark, and then he decided to head down from the hillside, that he finished his teaching up there, and to head down to the bottom where there was a lake. a big lake called the Sea of Galilee. And just at the edge of the lake, there were some small fishing boats. Because you see, some of Jesus' closest friends, the disciples, were actually fishermen. And so they had boats, and they tied them up at the edge of the lake earlier in the day. And so as they got closer to the boats, Jesus said, hey guys, I've got a bit of a plan. Why don't we all climb into one of the boats, sail across to the other side of the lake, and then I can teach the people on the other side of the lake tomorrow all about God up in heaven and how much he loves them. That sounds like a good plan. So they all got into one of the boats, and they started to set sail across the lake. Now you see, Jesus had finished teaching for the day up on the hillside. But I think he still had something that he wanted to teach his disciples that day when they were in the boat. But we'll find out about that in a minute. Because you see, they probably weren't far from the shore when suddenly Jesus would have lifted his hands in the air and gone, ooh, and let out a great big yawn because he was feeling so tired because he'd been teaching on the hillside all day long. But the problem is, in a small fishing boat, well, there isn't really anywhere to go to sleep. It's not as if you can keep a bed in the back of it or something like that. And so he headed towards the back of the boat and he found a bit of a cushion. It wasn't the most comfy thing ever, but as he laid his head down on it, he was feeling so tired that he fell fast asleep. Now the Bible doesn't tell us, but I wonder whether he might even have started to snore. We don't really know. But we do know the other guys in the boat started to notice. They said, shh, guys, be quiet. Teacher's asleep in the back of the boat. We don't want to wake him. We want to make sure he's nice and rested to teach everybody tomorrow all about God up in heaven. And they wouldn't have minded that he was asleep because it was a glorious day to go sailing across the lake. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. The wind was just gently blowing them along, and the waves were just ever so gently lapping against the bottom of the boat. But as they started to sail on in the boat, so things started to change. Suddenly, big, dark clouds appeared in the sky. The rain started to pour down. The wind started to blow really hard. The waves started to get really big. And the disciples realized that their little boat was stuck in the middle of a storm. Now, lots of things in life have meters or gauges on them. A car is a great example. Whenever someone's driving a car, there are lots of different things in front of them for them to look at. One of the things is what we call a fuel gauge or a petrol gauge. And it has a hand on it, a bit like a clock. And we sometimes call it a needle as well, or a hand. And actually, if that's right up towards the top, then it means it's full of petrol. And the cars can go a long way. If it's in the middle, it's half full. If it's down towards the bottom, it means you're almost empty. And you better get to a petrol station soon, or otherwise you're not going to be going very far very quickly. But also cars have a speedometer, which show how fast they're going. And so if it's down towards the bottom, it's not very fast. If it's in the middle, it's reasonably fast. If it's up towards the top, it's really fast. Now the disciples didn't have this. But if that day the disciples had panicometers on their chests, would show just how scared and afraid they were, well, the needle on the panicometers would have started to rise because, well, they were in a storm. But it wouldn't have risen really high because, well, they were used to being in boats in storms on this lake, and they thought that everything was going to be okay. But as they kept sailing on, things kept getting worse and worse. The rain started to get heavier and heavier. The wind blew harder and harder. The waves got huger and huger. The disciples' panicometers rose higher and higher, and Jesus was still fast asleep in the back of the boat. And things kept getting worse and worse. The rain started to get heavier and heavier. The wind blew harder and harder. The waves got huger and huger. The disciples' panicometers rose higher and higher, and still Jesus was fast asleep in the back of the boat. Finally, lightning shot down out of the clouds as the rain got really heavy, as the wind blew really hard, as the waves got really huge, as the disciples' panicometers rose really high, and still Jesus was fast asleep in the back of the boat. Finally, one of the disciples' panicometers started to rise so high that he actually called out and he asked a question to Jesus. And he said, "Teacher, don't you care if we all drown?" And do you remember I said to you earlier that when you're feeling scared or afraid, what you really want is the right person there to help you out? Now, I think that teachers are amazing and incredible people. But if you're stuck in a boat in the middle of a lake that's just about to sink, is a teacher the best person you want to help you? Now, well, they might be able to tell you how strong the wind is blowing, or how heavy the rain is falling down, or even how soon it's going to be before the boat's about to sink. But those aren't necessarily the things you want to know at that time. But as well as that, the disciple asked a really silly question to Jesus, because he said, "Don't you care?" Now, if he'd have known anything at all about Jesus, he would have known that Jesus loved and cared for everybody. That's why Jesus had come. In fact, a little while after this, the Bible says that Jesus was going to show his friends just how much he cared for them by actually going and dying on a cross for them. But the Bible says he didn't just die on a cross for them, but he actually died on a cross for you and for me as well. You see, the Bible says that as Jesus died on that cross, He was actually paying the price for all the things that we've done wrong. So that anybody, no matter who we are, no matter what we've done wrong, can turn to him, say we're sorry, ask for his forgiveness.
Actually, one of his friends betrayed him.
So that's right, one of his friends betrayed him, that's how he ended up on the cross. But he did it there, the Bible said, for all of those different reasons. And you know, the reason that the disciples weren't thinking about whether a teacher was the best person to help, or whether Jesus really cared for them or not, was because, well, their panicometers had started to rise so high that they were just feeling so scared and afraid they didn't know what to do. Because you see, if there had been other meters or gauges on the boat that day, they'd have risen really high as well. You see, if there had been a windometer on the boat, it would have been right up to the top, past the line that said, watch out, it's got really windy on this lake. And if there was a waver-meter on the boat, it would have been right up to the top, past the line that said, watch out, the water's pouring in the side of the boat. And if there had been a sinker-meter on the boat that day, well, it would have been up really high, past the point that said, I hope you know how to swim, because this boat isn't going to be around for much longer. You see, they were just about to drown, and they were feeling really scared and afraid. But suddenly, in the middle of the storm, Jesus did something amazing. Now, he didn't get up and start to help them bail the water out from the side of the boat. He didn't even help them start to row back towards the shore, towards safety. In fact, the Bible says that Jesus just, well, spoke. And the Bible says he didn't even speak to the other people in the boat. It says he stood up in that boat and he spoke to the wind and the waves. Now, can you imagine being on a boat in the middle of a lake in a storm, being tossed around by the wind and the waves, and suddenly one of your teachers stands up and speaks to the wind and the waves? You'd think they'd gone crazy, wouldn't you? The Bible says, though, that when Jesus did it, something amazing happened. It says that actually, as that boat was being tossed around by the wind and the waves, he stood up and he said, quiet, be still. And it was. The Bible says the clouds disappeared. The rain stopped. The wind was just once again gently blowing them along. And the waves were just lapping against the bottom of the boat. Then he turned and asked a question to his disciples. He said, why are you still so afraid? Do you still not trust me? You see, if the disciples' panicometers had been really high during the storm, they were now even higher because of what they'd just seen Jesus do. Because you see, like I said, that this story is from a really special book called the Bible. And the Bible is really special to Christians because they believe in what God up in heaven wants to tell us. Well, the disciples, they had their own special book, which is now the first bit of the Bible called the Old Testament. And they knew that in there was a sentence that said, all of creation listens to God, even the wind and the waves do what God up in heaven says for them to do. So they knew from their book that they believed that only God up in heaven could control the wind and the waves. But yet they'd just seen Jesus control the wind and the waves. So they started to ask themselves a question. And they said, well, who is this Jesus? You see, they thought, well, if Jesus can control the wind and the waves, but yet only God up in heaven can control the wind and the waves, then, well, that means that, well, he must be God. And you see, that's what Christians believe. Christians believe that Jesus is God himself, come down out of heaven, down to earth for us. And Christians believe it partly because of what happened in that boat, but also because of all the other amazing and incredible miracles that Jesus did. And especially for one of the things that he did that we'll celebrate at the end of this term. Because at the end of this term we celebrate Easter, where we celebrate how Jesus went and died on the cross for us because he loved us so much. But we also celebrate that that's not the end of the story. That's what we celebrate on Good Friday. But we then celebrate that his body was taken down from the cross and was placed in a tomb, which was a bit like a cave dug into the rock for that purpose. And then a great huge stone was rolled across the entrance of the tomb to stop anyone from getting in or anyone from getting out. But 3 days later, on Easter Sunday, we celebrate that the stone was gone, that the tomb was open, and Jesus' body was no longer there. And you know, Christians believe that Jesus actually rose from the dead and rose back up into heaven and is still alive today up in heaven. And that's why Christians believe that we can still trust in him and he can still do things to change our lives even today. But you know, in our lives, there are going to be times for us as well when our panicometers might start to rise a bit like the disciples did in the story, when we're feeling scared or afraid. What we need to always remember is, no matter how scared or afraid we're feeling, there are always people around that want to help us. People like our friends, our mums and dads, our teachers, the police and the fire brigade as well. But also, the Bible says that actually God himself wants to help us. And he says that any of us can call out to him and ask for help at any time. And he'll always be there to help us. Just like Jesus was there to help his friends when they were stuck in that boat in the middle of the storm. So I hope you like that story today about Jesus calming the storm. And I hope it made you just think about some of the things as well, and ask yourself some of the questions that were asked in that story. So, I just want to end this part of our assembly with a quiet prayer. So we just quietly put our hands together, close our eyes. I'm going to say a prayer which is just speaking to God. I'm going to say amen at the end, but I'd really appreciate it if you'd say amen after me. God, I thank you so much for all the wonderful, incredible stories that are in your Bible. God, I thank you for the storm and how Jesus was able to calm the storm and also calm the disciples' fears. But God, I pray that whenever we're feeling scared or afraid, you help to remind us that there are always lots of people around that we can call out to and ask for help from. Amen.
Amen.